awesome as I wanna be. Awesome as I wanna be. Awesome as I wanna be.
Hello everypony, I am Critical Thought and welcome to my review of The Times They Are a Changeling. The new writer hype train continues to roll through with the introduction of Kevin Burke and Chris Doc Wyatt. Kevin Burke is mostly known for his work on many animated superhero shows such as Avengers Assemble, Batman Unlimited, and Disney XD's Spider-Man, the last of which has also been worked on by Chris Wyatt. However, you are more likely to recognize Chris Wyatt's name from the smash hit movie Napoleon Dynamite as the actual producer of the film. Yes, the producer of Napoleon Dynamite is about to bring us a new episode of My Little Pony. Oh, how the times they are a changeling indeed. Will these new writers leave me wanting to see more future episodes from them, or should they go back to making fluke hit indie films and superhero shows for Disney? Let's find out. We kick off this episode with Twilight and Starlight on the Friendship Express en route to the Crystal Empire. Twi is eager to see her brother, sister-in-law, and niece again, and Starlight can't wait to hang out with Sunburst. Spike, who is the only other person on the train, isn't eager for the visit at all, however, and tries to hide in a poor disguise of a coat, glasses, and a hat. Due to the events we saw in Season 3's The Crystal Empire and Season 4's Equestria games, Spike is worshipped in the Empire as a hero, and after he was mobbed by a group of fans during the season's premiere, he doesn't want to draw any more attention to himself. Theme. When they get to the train station in the Empire, they are surprised to find no pony there whatsoever.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
I understood that reference.
Ooh, that was a Star Wars reference! Even down to the screen transition. Very nice. Spike decides that with the Empire deader than a beach town in winter, he can take off his disguise. But as soon as he does, he's swarmed by a mob of crystal ponies who are excited that he has come to save them once again. From what, you ask? Well, considering how every pony is suspicious about the authenticity of Twilight, Starlight, and Spike, as well as the title of this episode, my guess is changelings.
Sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake. Clap your hooves and do a little shake.
Ah! Not only did Cadence do the dance, she did it to confirm Twi was really Twi! That's so cute and serviceable to the plot! Gah! Sunburst then confirms that the sighting of a changeling is in fact what has the Empire on high alert.
After Queen Chrysalis took my place at our wedding and invaded Canterlot with her army of minions, we're not taking any chances.
Continuity! No. My channel is already a straight ripoff of Silver-Quill's. I ain't gonna steal the only bit of his that's still his own. I'm not that shameless. The Royal Guards ask Spike to join them on their hunt for the Changeling, which leads them out of the Empire and into the frozen north. Spike orders the guards to spread out to cover more ground, leaving him to search all by himself. After a pretty good moment of comedy with Spike interrogating a rock on whether it's a changeling or not, he falls into a pit and down an ice slide, narrowly avoiding falling into a chasm, if not for another rock that he grabs onto to save himself. Having had enough adventure for one day, Spike tries to find his way back out, but comes face to face with the changeling he was looking for. Spike tries to run away, but surprisingly, the changeling doesn't even attack him, and when Spike accidentally falls into the chasm from earlier, the changeling flies down and actually saves him. This catches Spike by surprise due to how, up until this point, changelings have only ever been depicted as evil creatures with a hive mind.
Evil? Oh, not me. All I've ever wanted is a friend.
Why does he sound like that? And why is one of the most badass creatures in the show being nice? Well, to be fair, it is just this one changeling, as he goes on to mention how he's always wanted a friend since the moment he was born, while all his fellow changelings just wanted to feed on love. So I guess I can tolerate that, but why are they messing with my favorite creatures in the show? Stop! The changeling, who goes on to say his name is Thorax, says that he doesn't want to feed off of love, but instead wants to share love with a friend. Due to the negative reputation about changelings, though, he is shunned everywhere he goes. This has caused him to be suffering from starvation. Spike feels bad for Thorax and agrees to help him by trying to use his status in the Empire to persuade the Crystal Ponies to be friends with him. However, when Spike gets back to the Royal Guard outpost and tries to suggest to them that they make friends with the changeling, he's laughed off. That's when Shining Armor comes in for what is, in my opinion, one of the best scenes of the episode. He takes an aggressive tone with Spike as he talks about the pain the changeling caused him at his wedding with Cadence. It really works well as a moment that reinforces the love between him and his wife, and as someone who has roleplayed as Shining Armor on Twitter, I believe it makes his following bigoted statement of "there is no such thing as a nice changeling" feel justified. I mean, it's definitely not justified and is flat out wrong, but in the heat of the moment, I can't help but side with Shining here. Spike goes back to deliver the bad news to Thorax that he wasn't able to talk things out with any pony. But when Thorax changes into a pony form, it gives Spike an idea to introduce him to everyone while he's in his pony disguise, which will hopefully make them more willing to accept him when the disguise is eventually dropped. After a long day of introducing Thorax, who goes by the alias of Crystal Hoof in front of every pony else, since that's the first name Spike could come up with off the top of his head, they are summoned by Cadence, who wanted to meet Spike's new friend. Unfortunately, Spike's plan goes awry when Thorax approaches Flurry Heart, and the love surrounding her is so strong that it forces him to revert back to his changeling form, leaving everyone in the throne room shocked. Twilight uses her magic to pull Spike away from the changeling, and Sunburst deduces that the changeling replaced Spike's pony friend to get close to Flurry Heart. But just when Spike has an opportunity to stand up for Thorax's innocence, he doesn't, and just agrees with Sunburst. The show tries to paint this as Spike choosing to defend his reputation in the Empire over helping Thorax, but I'm not really buying it. Spike has been trying so hard up until this point to get ponies to be friends with Thorax, and seemed like he actually hated his heroic status from how he was behaving at the beginning of the episode. Why all of a sudden he cares about that reputation enough to choose saving it over standing up for Thorax doesn't make sense to me. Maybe you could argue that it's really more about his fear of being laughed at or not listened to, but that's certainly not how the episode sets it up. Spike heads back to the cave in the frozen north where he found Thorax later to apologize. Thorax doesn't want to hear it at first, but once Spike falls into the chasm again, Thorax saves him and accepts his apology, further reinforcing the idea through his dialogue that Spike chose not to defend him earlier due to his reputation being on the line. Again, not sure why that became important again all of a sudden, but whatever. Spike heads back to the Crystal Castle with Thorax, and this time, chooses to stand beside his friend in the face of Shining Armor and every pony else. He does this to the tune of a new song by Daniel Ingram entitled "A Changeling Can Change." In it, Spike admits that he's not the brave dragon everyone has seen him as, using his failure to be brave in front of every pony earlier to defend this kind-hearted changeling as an example, and asking everyone to believe in the concept of a changeling actually being good. This song has one of the best arrangements and vocal melodies I've ever heard in the show. No joke, this gives some of the music from A Hearthwarming Tale a run for its money. But there is one thing really holding it back from being one of my all-time favorites. Kathy Westluck's singing voice. Bless her heart, she's really trying. She's trying so hard to give Spike a singing voice on par with Rebecca and Kasumi's. But I'm really sorry, it just doesn't work. It's too grating on my ears to hear Spike sing, even when it's purposefully meant to sound good. It's far from bad and certainly listenable, but I can't give it the props I really want to.
Would you say I'm a hero, glorious and brave? If I told you something you wouldn't believe, this changeling, it seems, knows the real me and would stay by my side till the end. So if day can turn to night and the darkness turn to light, then why can't we imagine? Just why can't we imagine? Then why can't we imagine a changeling can change?
Once Twilight actually backs up Spike following the song and offers her hoof and friendship to Thorax, this prompts everyone else to accept him as well, including Cadence and Shining Armor. Given how heated Shining Armor got earlier at Spike, I do find this sudden acceptance of Thorax just because his sister said so a little bit out of character. He didn't have to keep flat out rejecting Thorax, but maybe he could show a little hesitation at least. If I was to fix this scene, maybe Cadence could be the one to trust in Twilight's judgment and offer her friendship first, with Shining still angrily refusing Thorax's friendship until Thorax apologized for the invasion of Canterlot right to Shining's face. This would help soften him up a little bit, but he would still be a little reluctant. That's when we could have a quick little moment of comedy where Cadence gives him a nagging wife look that would ultimately get him to accept Thorax. In an ironic twist, standing up for Thorax actually reinforces Spike's reputation as brave and glorious in the eyes of the Crystal Ponies, as we close out this episode with Starlight admitting that friendship lessons really can happen anywhere. So, what did I think of The Times They Are a Changeling? It's really tough to say. This episode had quite a few problems with it, with very few positives to point out. Yet I can't deny that I still found the episode enjoyable overall. The moral that you shouldn't judge people based on their appearance was also incredibly valuable and relevant in our very racially divided social climate. As much as I don't like the idea of the changelings having the capacity to be good, I'd be lying if the character of Thorax wasn't entertaining and kinda relatable even, especially for me in particular. I also can't deny that new song. If it was literally anyone else but Kathy Westlock singing it, I'd absolutely love it, and it might just be my favorite song in show history. The only things I can't really defend are Spike's actions at the climax and Shining Armor's sudden acceptance of Thorax, but I guess in the grand scheme of things, I can let those slide. Overall, I think this episode deserves a watch it once rating. A lot of my issues with the episode really just boil down to my own personal opinions on the show and aren't a fault of the writers. I'm actually eager to see what they turn out next. As always, I am Critical Thought, and I will see you all in my next video. Never stop thinking critically.